Tommy Richmond uploaded $1 Million Baby to TikTok on the night of April 13th, 2024, just after he completed recording it in the studio. Richmond quickly received a level of interest that was unfamiliar for him at the time, so he was prompted to release the full version of the song into the world. That was a choice that would change his life forever. This record led to a series of achievements for Richmond's career. He then continued to release singles in genres that included R&B and punk rock. He would then get to #1 on Spotify charts and top 40 on the Billboard Hot 100 charts multiple times. Now that he has millions of active monthly listeners, Richmond acknowledges that his hard work is finally paying off. Richmond is preparing to release his debut album very soon, and fans describe him as a breath of fresh air. And Richmond's team also assures that his time is now. Of course, the narrative of industry plant gets thrown around when the rise of an artist is rapid. We question the authenticity of the artists and their team, and we also question the agenda. Now, what I spoke about earlier in this video about acceptance, hip-hop and R&B culture is one of the more accepting genres in music overall, but we are very wary of when somebody, I'm just going to be honest, somebody that's white has a hip-hop and R&B soul sound. We question or sometimes fear, even apprehensive, that this person is just going to use our culture and pivot into what they want to do. Audience isn't necessarily wrong to do this, as the industry has proven time and time again that they will do whatever it takes to make a profit. However, in this case of Tommy Richmond, I believe we hadn't built enough rapport with him as an artist. Those that consider him either an industry plant or a one-hit wonder just aren't familiar with his story, and they aren't familiar with his sacrifices. We aren't familiar with the times he had to sacrifice to develop his craft, working tirelessly in his mother's basement back in Virginia, despite his dreams not being accepted by his family and support system. Acceptance is something that still comes up even after artists get their big break. It's a conversation for all white artists. All white artists have this talk about acceptance, even when they break through. It's not necessarily fair, it's not necessarily unfair, I just think that it's just the rite of passage in this culture. But let's go back to 2020. When the 2020 lockdown happened, it completely shifted the way we lived and processed the world around us. And the creative and music industry forced artists to hit the reset button. And they forced artists to find creative ways to still keep their careers afloat. In the midst of a very low point for many, Richmond took this time as an opportunity to transform his situation and to prioritize the people around him and his music. This focus propelled Richmond into a series of life-changing moments. And the closer Richmond got to his goals, the more sacrifices he had to make. In a 2022 interview with Lyrical Lemonade, Richmond recalls the moment he knew he had to drop out of school to pursue music full-time. Richmond said, "The month before I went back to college, going into my sophomore year, I made a song called Pleasantville, and a lot of people liked it, and I thought it was something I could do. At that point, I left college for music and started taking it seriously." At this time, Richmond honed in on taking all of his elements of inspirations and combining them with his own distinct sound. Richmond cites Pharrell as an influence along with Rick Rubin, and he's really into how sounds make people feel. I learned that Richmond is very big on feeling more than theory. Richmond spent his formative years in music immersing himself within the DMV scene. His curiosity and desire to achieve put himself in a position to yearn for more than what his current environment had to offer. Richmond was now at a crossroad. The next sacrifice that Richmond had to make was leaving his hometown for good. Many artists understand that it's hard to get support from your hometown when you're still coming up, and that could be for a various amount of reasons. A lot of artists find success by leaving to another location in order to jumpstart their careers. Richmond understood it was important for him to leave his hometown because it was important for his career as well as his development. Richmond told the Miami Times, "There's a lot of passion through the scene back home, and I feel like it's because a lot of people don't get a fair shake. That's probably why. A lot of people from Virginia left, like Pharrell and Timbaland. It's kind of key for an artist to leave their nest." In the time that Richmond was transitioning from Virginia to Los Angeles, he released his first EP, Paycheck. After that, more momentum began to build for Tommy, and words about his captivating performances and unique sound began to spread, and it would soon reach the ears of some very important and talented people. Richmond was at the intersection of when sacrifice leads to success. In 2023, Richmond signed to Brent Faiyaz's independent label ISIL Supremacy through a joint venture deal with Pulse Music Group. ISO Supremacy, which stands for In Search of Supremacy, is a creative network with a mission of executing visual and sonic art. Fias leads as CEO, with Darren Zhu as Chief of Operations, Ashani Alec as Head of A&R, Michael Alexander as Project Manager, and Zach Matthias as Art Director. So when $1 Million Baby broke through in a discourse about Tommy being a culture vulture, this person said, y'all should do y'all research on Tommy Richmond's team before slandering him, because it's a bunch of successful and talented black men behind that man's career, and I'm rooting for every single one of them. Now, Ashani is the A&R of ISO, and he's black. Tommy Richmond's manager is not black. Brent Fias is obviously black, the DMV superstar that have stamped him and say this is who I'm standing behind. He's black, but it's a mixture of black and white and also other people of color. But I don't think necessarily Tommy Richmond has to have an all-black team to prove his authenticity, and he could still have an all-black team and have ill intentions for all purposes. That I'm sure that happens time and time again.
So pick out what you like on the television screen.
For any creatives watching this, I want you to understand that you will go a lot further in life with a team than alone. And as talented as Richmond is, a lot of his success is still attributed to how brilliant his team is. Our creative director, Bel Mabahi, was interested in Tommy and brought him to our attention within the first month of launching Pulse Records. There was always a scene gathering around Tommy, so Bell brought Ashley Calhoun, president of Pulse Music Group, to Tommy's show at the Echo so that they could scout him, and Tommy's performance and stage presence blew them away. Tommy Richmond was the first signing to Pulse Records in partnership with Fias and Darren Zhu's ISO Supremacy label. Zhu is also now Tommy Richmond's manager, according to Music Business Worldwide. And after a couple of big collaborations with DMV superstar Brent Fias, Richmond immediately began working on a handful of records that would stamp his arrival into the industry. One of those records was $1 Million Baby. Cutler says the track Scott Cutler of Pulse Records says, "Our strategy is always the same. We do what's best for the artists." Took off. And the Pulse Records / ISO Supremacy team quickly devised a plan to release a single on April 26th. So the team collectively decided to put out a VHS version of the single as well. 48 hours before the release, we were able to get the VHS version on DSPs, and the moment it was released, it just broke through. Josh Abraham of Pulse Music Group says, "It's a special song and artist. And when a song is as big as this, it's usually just the music that transcends whatever else is out there at the time." I think he does have some talented people around him, and Pulse Music Group signed him, and they're not all black. Ashley Calhoun, I love Ashley for the work she's done in this career, works very hard. I think he's surrounded by a great team. Now, when I saw that tweet, I was curious to see if that was true, and it's not true, but it doesn't matter because I heard the music. It seems like it's rooted in a genuine place. The music is good. I think he's really done his due diligence in studying people that, Rick Rubin is not black, but Pharrell is black, and he has other black influences, because if you make soul music, you have to be influenced by black people. It's just no other way around it. By him merging this unique sound to this generation, it's very unique to this generation. If you live long enough, you'll see remnants of other people from other generations, but that's what each generation does from time to time again. They package an older sound and make it digestible for this new generation. And the way he's taken off, it's left people very interested and intrigued to see what his next steps are. So I have no ill judgment of him and of his come up. I'm very interested in what he has to do in the future. I'm very interested in his debut album, and I love what he has to offer so far. When I heard Chrono Trigger, actually when I heard Devil Is a Lie, I was like, this is really good. I heard $1 Million Baby when the snippet hit on Twitter, and it was really dope. So everything that I've heard from him, mostly everything, I've been very intrigued about. But y'all let me know how y'all feel about Tommy Richmond and his come up.